for him 290 national so at the kama on 1994 no so we drew O'Hare and Tentem na the so Jumedia Ecoso, the Abramo Assembly, Money Talks, Jeff Badu, the Bram every year, what they are, and also our full flock at the Maya, the Tia. I'm taking notes, and I'm what you're taking notes now. If I share how far, because I brought you know, Woboniama. And now I'll be friend myself per number now, still I'm going for betting my father on my taxes.
Oh, yeah.
I see. It's just Sikano na Unyano during the refund time.
Yeah, I mean, you still get your full money. It's just you are delaying the time. You can use your money.
So, in time, you bet not follow tax anytime.
Up to 3 years.
Opa deadline, why it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you have up to 3 years, so the IRS will keep your money.
Oh, sir. Oh, and you send them you're going here.
All right, thank you all for tuning in to WJC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. My name is Jeff Badu, and I'm a licensed certified public accountant in the state of Illinois. I'm the owner and practitioner of my firm, Badu Tax Services, and my firm specializes in tax preparation, tax planning, and tax representation for individuals and businesses. So today's topic is actually pretty special, especially for this radio station. And essentially it's talking about how to distribute wealth through charities and, you know, just basically out of your kind heart. And essentially once you get the wealth, how do you actually distribute it to the things that you care most about? But before we do that, I would like to kick it off with a market report. So this report is as of September 8, 2017, as of last Friday. So what happened last week was that retail gas prices surged as Hurricane Harvey forced refineries to shut down, leading to curtailed petroleum shipments. Higher gas prices cut into investors' pockets, prompting them to move from stocks to bonds. And then each of the indexes listed essentially lost value last week, except for the global Dow, which went up a very small, tiny percentage. So Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, plus continued tensions between the U.S. and North Korea essentially didn't help out the stock market. And then the yield on the 10-year treasuries fell by 11 basis points as prices rose. And then also Bitcoin and the main digital currencies are down a bit right now because China essentially is going against it. And then also JP Morgan Chase came out with a statement saying that they see it as a scam or they don't really support it for whatever reason. So right now is actually a good time to get into Bitcoin and those digital currencies because they're taking a hit right now. I'm pretty sure they'll be rising back soon though. And then also the price of crude oil went up as expected, $47.35 per barrel to $47.56. The price of gold went up also as expected from $13.29.90 to $13.51. And so the market took a bit of a hit, but overall we're still doing really well. The Dow Jones is up 10%, NASDAQ is up 18%, S&P 500 up 10%, Russell 2000 up 3%, Global Dow is up 12.86%. And so on to today's topic, really how to distribute wealth, essentially through charities and through the goodness of your heart, essentially. So always remember, and I am going to quote some Bible scriptures in this presentation, or I'm going to reference a few things that relate to the Bible. So essentially there's more blessing in giving than receiving. So whenever you give, you should be receiving more back than what you gave. Whether it's Christmas, whether it's a church, whether it's to any organization, whether it's to feed the hungry or something like that. Anytime you give something, you should expect or you will receive much more than what you gave. I mean, that's just the way life works. You can call it karma, you can call it reciprocal, you can call it Christianity, you can call it anything you want, but I always found that if I give something to somebody, or if I give something of value, I receive 10 times worth or 5 times worth what I gave. So that's just one of the principles in life. And then, so you can make a tremendous amount of impact in your community and the causes you care about with the money you have. And this goes back to the whole principle of why should we be building wealth? Why should we care about money? They say money is the root of all evil, which is not necessarily true. If you're doing goodness with your money, then how can it be evil? So in reality, a big reason why we should be striving to be as prosperous or as wealthy as possible is because we can actually do good for our communities. We see the homeless that are out here, we see the disabled, we see people that are less fortunate than we are. And so it's upon us with the resources to actually go out and distribute it in a way that benefits the communities and gives out it just gives out good to the causes that we care about. And so even better, in the U.S. at least, when you donate money, you actually receive a tax benefit or tax deductions. So not only are you doing goodness out of your heart, but God is going to double bless you and essentially, or the IRS in this case, essentially give you double the benefits in the form of a tax deduction. And so, people always say they hate the 1%, they hate the rich, but everybody, in all honesty, strives to be like the rich, or they want to get up to that level. They want to be millionaires and live in abundance and things like that. And so the reason why I brought this up is because even the wealthiest people in the world today, they actually donate a tremendous amount of their money to various charities, various causes, and just different things. And I'll share with you a story about my biggest idol in the world. He goes by the name of Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett gave out $3 billion to the Gates Foundation along with other charities this year alone, and gives out billions and billions of dollars to various charities each and every year. Now, a quick story about Warren Buffett, and I follow him a lot. I know basically a lot of different things about him. And that, so when he was married, his wife always wanted him to donate money. But for whatever reason, he wasn't really donating as much as I guess his wife thought he could. And so his wife unfortunately passed away without him really feeling like he gave much to society or to life. And so as soon as his wife passed away, he just started giving money. He just started donating money to as many charities as he could, because that's what his wife always wanted. His wife always wanted him to give out money to various causes and things like that. So perhaps what might have caused the death of his wife might have been the fact that he wasn't fulfilling her dreams per se. And so everything happens for a reason. Unfortunately now he lost his wife, and so now he's given as much as he can. He's giving out billions and billions of dollars to not only the Gates Foundation, which gives out scholarships each and every year, but also to other various charities that he truly cares about. And so that's just one example of why you should be doing good with the money that you have, because there are people that are less fortunate than we are. And so we should be thankful of that, and we should be able to donate our money or do something with the money. If it's not our money per se, perhaps it's our time, it's our service, it's our skills. Maybe we're just teaching somebody something. And so I encourage everyone to do things out of the goodness of their heart, because the primary purpose of life is to be purposeful. And one of the ways to be purposeful is to contribute to the causes that truly matter in the world. And so really, to get it deeper into the whole tax deductions, or into the whole why you should, even more reason why you should donate money, is because you're allowed to deduct any money or property that you give out to a qualified charity. And that's key. Or a qualified charitable organization, such as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so the reason why I bring this up is you probably don't want to walk up to a homeless man and hand him a check for $10,000 what you might want to do is you might want to find an organization that supports the homeless. Give the money to the organization. Tell them specifically that you want this money to go to, this group of people, or assuming they're already giving out money to the homeless. You give out that money to them, and they distribute it in a way that essentially benefits them. And it benefits you too financially, because you get a tax deduction anytime you donate money to a qualified nonprofit, a registered nonprofit organization, such as your church, such as this radio station, such as any charity that you truly care about. And keep in mind that this is only applicable, or at least the tax deduction is only applicable if you itemize on your tax return. All that means is that you have enough cushion, or you have enough deductions, or what's known as itemized deductions. Most people take the standard deduction, but if you get a little over the top, maybe you own a home, maybe you have excessive medical bills, maybe you have property taxes and things like that, you're allowed to itemize on your tax return. So if you do itemize, any dollar that you donate to a charity, to your church, or to anything like that, you can actually get a tax write-off, and you would use a Schedule A along with that. Or if you donate through a business entity such as a C corporation, whatever they donate, they're actually allowed to write off up to 10% of their income. And so just some quick things about the numbers as well. You're limited to 50% of your adjusted gross income, or your AGI, when you donate to a charity. And you're also limited to 30% of long-term appreciated property. So if you gave out a building, say you gave out your home that you moved out of, and now you're living in a bigger home, you gave it out to a charity, it's actually a huge benefit. And you also get to write that off, essentially up to 30% of your adjusted gross income. And so what this also allows you to do is it allows you to avoid what's known as gift taxes. So anytime you give out a gift over $14,000 to an individual, or to anything that's not a qualified charity, or there's certain exceptions that apply. But basically, if you hand your kids $15,000 in a year, you would be responsible for $1,000 and $1,000 of taxes, basically. Or essentially, they would multiply that $1,000 by a specific percentage. It's known as gift taxes. Anytime you give a gift over $14,000 to somebody, you have to pay taxes on that gift. As crazy as it sounds. So unfortunately, you cannot write off the time you spend with these charities, or the time that you spend donating your time. Essentially, you can't do that because you can't put a value. According to the IRS, you can't really put a value on the time. Essentially, you can't put a value on the time, or even some services. And then also, so let's say that you exceed that 50% of adjusted gross income. I mean, you're giving up over half of your I call it net income, or net profit. You're allowed to carry that forward up to 5 years into the future. And so even if you can't write it off this year, you're allowed to write it off 5 years into the future, whatever you don't use this year. So examples include, you can donate to this radio station. The station is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. Any dollar that you contribute to the organization, and this organization does great things for the community, delivering content, education, and things like that. You can also, this station also helps out different causes in Ghana, just a bunch of different things that we actually do at the station. So if you donate money, and we have various ways for you to do that, through the website, through a special link we can send out, or you can write us a check, of course. But essentially, anything that you contribute to the station, you're allowed to write off on your tax return. And remember what a write-off is. It's an offset of your gross income. So let's say you're very wealthy, you're very well off, you make $400,000 a year. You're probably going to be in a 40% tax bracket. So 40% of your money essentially is getting eaten away you're sharing 40% of your money with the government. And so what you can do to prevent this, or to mitigate this impact, is you can actually donate the money. So for every dollar you donate, the IRS or the government will write you a check for 40%. So if you donate $1, you'll get 40 cents. If you donate $1,000, you get $400 back, like cash. This isn't. So the $1,000 would be the write-off, but $400 would be the physical cash you would be receiving. So that's just to put it in perspective what a tax write-off actually is. It's not a check that they're going to write to you. If you donate $1,000, don't expect $1,000 back from the IRS. If you donate $1,000, expect whatever your tax rate is, your marginal tax rate. Just multiply that amount to get how much you would get back. And so if you, for example, donating, paying tithes to your church or collection, or throwing money in a collection plate, you're entitled to a tax write-off because you're donating to a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a 501c3. It can be anything that's been established by the Internal Revenue Code, essentially as a qualified charitable organization. Most of the time you will see a 501c3, however. And so really, so you can gain a lot of great benefits just donating your money out of the kindness of your heart and the goodness and things like that. And essentially, and so whenever you donate, though, always be sure to obtain some sort of receipt, some sort of certificate, or anything that shows that you actually did donate that money, because IRS audits can be a little scary. And if they see that you've donated without any receipts or anything like that, they can waive the donation, essentially. And so let's say you do make, hundreds and millions of dollars. You've been fortunate enough to live in abundance, and you don't really just want to donate as an individual. Now you actually want to build a legacy, or you want to build something that's much bigger than what you are. What you can do is you can form what's known as a trust fund. And essentially, a trust fund is basically a legal entity that you set up, and you just contribute money to that trust fund, and you're able to write it off on your tax return, essentially. And you can have a charity be a beneficiary of the trust fund. You can have your kids be the beneficiary. But in this case, we're talking about a charity be the beneficiary of the trust. And so the types of trusts there are, you have a charitable remainder annuity trust, or a CRAT. You have a charitable remainder unit trust, or a CRUT. And then you also have what's known as a charitable lead trust. And so all these different trusts, I would highly advise you seek the help or the advice of a tax professional, such as a CPA, an attorney. You definitely want to get an attorney involved whenever you're setting these things up. But essentially, these are the different types of trust funds that you can set up to benefit your local charities. And you're setting a legacy, which is very important for some people. The next way to donate in a more sophisticated way, instead of you donating as an individual, you can set up what's known as a private foundation. And so a private foundation is a separate legal entity, just like a trust fund, that can be around even after the death of the donor. And so the donor, or with you being in this case, you would create the foundation. You transfer what's known as appreciated assets or cash. And with appreciated assets, you transfer it to the organization, and essentially, or you transfer it to the foundation. And then this helps you avoid what's known as capital gains tax. So if you hold a property, if your house appreciates in value, let's say you buy a home, it appreciates in value by, let's say, $100,000 in 1 year, and you decide to sell it, or you're debating between selling it or donating it. If you're to sell it, you're going to pay what's known as capital gains tax. And so it can be either long-term or short-term. Short-term is going to be taxed at your regular tax rate. Long-term is going to receive more favorable tax treatment. And so if you want to avoid this, what you can do is you can actually donate the property directly to the charity or to the foundation, pay no taxes on it, and then have that foundation donate the asset to a charitable organization. And guess what? You can also write off the value of that property. So not only have you avoided taxes, you've actually gained a tax benefit as well. So that's a win-win in that scenario. And of course, you're giving out of the kindness of your heart. So the nice thing with this is that once the foundation receives the asset, the foundation gives the asset to various charities. You know, the foundation can sell it and then give out the money, distribute it to the different charities. It can be one charity, it can be multiple charities, and so with this one, the charity can, it can support the homeless, it can support the hungry, the needy, breast cancer, all these different causes out there. And then you have a nice thing with this is you actually have complete control over where the money goes or what charities receive your grants. So you have complete control over who you're going to give your money to, which makes sense because it's your money at the end of the day. And so that is one example of just the kindness of giving, is that there's much more blessing in giving than receiving. And as you can see with the tax benefits, it even makes more sense when you donate the asset, assuming you don't need the cash, assuming you're living in abundance, you're fairly good off, you don't necessarily need the money. Not only will you be able to donate it and do something good for the community, you can actually gain some tax benefits. And an example of this is the Gates Foundation. So the Gates Foundation is a private foundation where Bill Gates and his wife essentially receive various sources of income. So from people like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett probably has his own foundation or his own trust fund or something. And that trust fund gives out money to organizations like the Gates Foundation. And then the Gates Foundation gives out scholarships, doing medical research, all these different things out there. And then essentially whoever the donor is gets the tax write-off. And so let's say you don't want to do the trust fund, you don't want to do the private foundation. You can do a community foundation. So a community foundation is typically created by a group of community members, and they are ran by a group of community members. So let's say maybe the Ghanaian community, the Ghana National Council, for example. Perhaps we set up a community foundation, and we invite the community to come donate because it's a public charity essentially. So anybody can donate. We write them their receipt for the write-off, and we can start distributing those assets to different charities and different causes and different things like that. And so that's what a community foundation is if you don't want to go to the private. So I would say a private one is more so somebody who's really wealthy, living in extreme abundance, millionaire, billionaire, anything like that. And so the last one, and certainly not the least one, this is probably the easiest thing to set up. It's known as a donor advised fund, or a DAF. And so a donor advised fund is a very popular strategy, and what this is it allows a donor or several donors to make charitable gifts over an extended period of time. So these are like frequent gifts. You're always donating to the homeless. You're giving out $5,000 each and every year, and you're contributing to this fund. Just like you would invest in a stock account or a brokerage account, that's what a donor advised fund is. And it's simply an account that's held within a charitable organization where the assets are provided from you, the donor, to the organization, and then the organization itself, not you, determine how those assets will be distributed. And so the nice thing with this is that so it's basically an investment account, and so any assets in that account actually grows tax-free. And so you avoid having to pay those taxes, and you're also getting a tax write-off anytime you give it out to the charity or to the nonprofit organization. And so those are 4 pretty robust ways of donating to a charity. You can, of course, donate on your own as an individual. You don't have to set up these foundations and trust funds and things. As you get up there, as your net worth starts creeping up, as you get into the $1 million range, or as you start to feel really financially free, to the point where you don't have to worry about bills, you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you're not necessarily worried about money at this point. That's where you might consider setting up a trust fund or setting up a private foundation. I mean, community foundation is typically set up by an organization that's already there. Or you can, as a donor advised fund, for example. And so, really, I mean, there's always consult with the charitable organizations to see if they offer these robust ways of giving. If they, for one, do they offer it? Do they support it? And just talk to them. Maybe if they don't, is there a way for them to implement it? Because at the end of the day, they were created for hopefully a charitable reason. And the IRS pays very close attention to nonprofit organizations. The eyes are very, very close on nonprofits because there's a lot at stake. There's people's money involved. So whenever you have other people's money involved, you have much more eyes that are on that organization. And I'm not saying every single organization does goodness with the money, but I believe the majority of these organizations are actually doing great with the money that they're giving out. And so it literally pays to donate money in the form of tax benefits, in the form of feeling good, in the form of just the goodness of it. So whenever you donate, you get your tax write-off, and essentially you get that benefit. So even if you don't get a benefit, let's say you can't itemize, or you don't even file a tax return, you're just giving. It's a very refreshing feeling to know that you've actually contributed to society. Every time that I give out money, or every time I donate to something, it feels good. It makes me feel proud that I'm actually doing something good for the community. And so to be able to do that, to be able to feel that way, I think in itself that pays in itself, because you're donating money and you're supporting the cause at the same time. And so always remember that there's more blessing in giving than it is in receiving. And so I encourage everyone to support their local charities. I encourage you all to continuously donate money. Even if you don't have much, they say the rule of thumb is to donate 10% of your money, or as the churches would say, pay 10% of your tithes and things like that. And so I believe it's a good rule of thumb. Hopefully you are still contributing to your retirement accounts. Hopefully you are not living paycheck to paycheck. Hopefully you're living a lifestyle that you truly want and can afford. And so you're essentially living in abundance, or you're living the life that you actually desire. Unfortunately for most people, they can't get to that point. They're consistently living paycheck to paycheck. And so if a paycheck doesn't come in one month, or they get laid off of work, they're basically wiped out. They don't have a way to cover their bills for the next month. And so that's really the definition of paycheck to paycheck. And so, that's really it as far as the presentation. But a reason why I wanted to bring this up is because you can actually do good with your money. You don't have to look evil, or you don't have to look like, some guy that's a rich person that's just doing anything with their money. They're just splurging it everywhere. You can actually do goodness with your money. And like people like Bill Gates, who donated $3 billion to charitable organizations, that speaks a lot. And all these wealthy folks, or most of them, they all donate their money. Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, Bill Gates, all those people, Sir Richard Branson, all these people, they always talk about giving. And you wonder why they're so wealthy, is probably because they're giving out money. And so it truly pays off to give, and there's much more blessing when you give out something. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be money. It's preferred that it is actual money, because as we know, money can change a lot of things. But if you're giving, then you will receive a lot more back than what you're giving. And so that's why I encourage people. That's another reason why I do what I do in teaching wealth, teaching classes and things like that, giving people advice, coaching. Because once you get to the stage where you're living in abundance, you're You have a lot of money in the bank. I mean, at this point, you're not concerned whatsoever about money. And so now you can actually do good with the money. Now you have all this money. You're like, okay, I've already invested a lot. I've already paid off bills. I've already covered everything that I need to in this world. What can I do with my money? You can actually go out and support a cause or donate the money to a charitable organization and receive a tax benefit from the IRS. I mean, that's probably why Warren Buffett only pays about, say, 17% of his income to taxes. You know, he not only is he an investor, not only is he a business owner, but he's a donator too. He's a donor. He donates a lot of money. And so not only is he doing goodness for society, not only is he fulfilling his late wife's dreams, but he's also paying less in taxes. So just little things like this, when you give, when the wealthy give, they're always receiving more. And so they say the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. I mean, it goes without saying that if you are rich or if you are up there, then you should probably be giving out some type of money out. And it just makes you feel good. Like I said before, anytime I give out money, it just makes me feel proud. It makes me feel good because I know where I came from, and I also know where I want to go. Like I always had the dream of donating a lot of money back to Africa, you know, specifically back to Ghana to support schools and just different things. Unfortunately, there is a lot of corruption that goes on, especially in third world countries and even in the U.S. But at the same time, we can't really have that mindset. That's why we have to give out our money to the organizations that we trust. That's why we have to start these private foundations so that we control who gets our money. We analyze their tax returns. We analyze their financials. Nonprofit financial statements are essentially publicly available information. You can get it from anywhere. So you can see where the money went. And some charities, in order to receive money, or in order to receive government grants, they have to go through an audit. And so even that even gives you, it even gives you more comfort when you're donating to the charities who've been through the audits, you've scanned their tax returns and things like that. So you know, there is a lot of corruption going on, but at the same time, you can definitely do good with your money and make sure that your money is going into the right places. And so really, that's really the presentation for today. I definitely thank you all for tuning in to WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station. Shout out to Asante Maya Association. My group or my affiliation. We're actually hosting the Kente Dance on September 23rd. And so I encourage you all to attend that. So thank you all for tuning in. My name is Jeff Badu. My number is 773-679-7198. You can catch me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter at JEFFBADU. So thank you all for tuning in.
There it is. Make sure your money goes somewhere where it's beneficial. It's like today, dear. What they bond radio no home. Thank you very much, around here. It's true, really, because if you do donate and you do sponsor a worthy cause, it really goes into your benefit. It's a good resume for you, actually.
Definitely.
When you are looking for, advantages to help your financial, situation and
exactly.
to get even ahead of yourself. Say, that's how, look at a president, Donald Trump, at some point was giving a bunch of money away to charity and all of that. Bill Gates and more money count. I mean, so Michael Jordan, it means that it does something for them.
And they're still billionaires.
They're still billionaires because I think at the end of the day, the system recognized that, hey, exactly.
Yeah. So exactly. Why wouldn't they make more money?
Yeah.
Because they're giving out the money. You know, the IRS is giving out benefits, so it only makes sense.
Yeah. So please, WJC, our second annual is coming up, and Jeff said it. Big ups to Asante Maya coming up on 23rd. These are all the entities and I say organizations that Ubetimi Abua going to that Asante Maya, going to Brona Hafo, going to Coleman, paying that $60, $50, $70 donations here and there
to support a cause. Also can write that off too.
Can write that off, and exactly. So we'll take it now. We'll talk for Asante Maya. You can write it off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so, that is why, this radio is here for. And we are here to build our communities. We are here to give you information that who donate TBBR. Now, right now, we are looking to do a coat drive just around the corner here. And we've been telling people, say, who are coats that they be or half a play. Yeah, well, Kaneshi building, no background as on to me for so I find that Kaneshi, and we are doing a coat drive at the corner of Wilson and the Broadway at the end of the month, of this month. Set the station. That's what we do.
Exactly.
And then Jeff, and then we also do part 2, because part 2, 3, 4. Because every day, nice one. Thank you very much for another great segment. And this weekend definitely is wedding bells at Jinko and Nehema and Nunyam. But the answer will be Saturday, Praise Before Sunday Redemption. And wedding 1 p.m. 741 East 84th Street. Bra na best support to Ajingo and Nehema Papa and Nunyam Benza. Na your reception is so cost 3805 Wabash. Na and agroni na yedeba ko wie wo ho na de so the 17th mose o masa to musafre yina say Ghana community come with friends and family na yeme boy no so twede park se partelele na ye fan share how far 2601 South Perry na ye have a nice barbecue. And to this weekend there I'm not telling almost start to crap and pump on tare and suit in the keke and yes I'm get to and if Brabe Chawanase, Brabe Chatum, Obanswa, Mountari, no, and heavy. God, one shall deaf. But they also are engaged. Also, we were Ghana chair with you. Ultimate to be.
Wedding here next year.
Next year?
Within 2 years.
Yeah, telele. Yeah, be what has a go into Ghana.
And one.
Yes, I cried. I could pierce for Dubai. Now I say, "Hey, possible." China, the day one Ghana. Yeah, you know what these 3 places. All right, so there it is. Coming up in the next 7 minutes. I can't care black.